All right, is everybody ready for us to do number 8? Yeah, you're right. 8 we don't have to do. All right, so let's do 9. All right, looking at 9, what's the first thing we got to do? Change everything out. All right, let's do that. So I got 1 plus sine x. I keep it sine. Secant turns to 1 over cosine. Tangent turns into sine over cosine. All right, there's your first step. Change everything out. Now, some of you like to do the common denominator and go from there. I have showed y'all on these, it's better if you can distribute or do FOIL. So we're going to do FOIL on this, okay? Now, every time we've had a full method problem, what has happened with the middle? I'm pretty sure it's going to cancel on this one too. All right, so let's use the 1. 1 times this fraction is just 1 over cosine. All right, 1 times this fraction, sine x over cosine. All right, Matthew, what do I get when I times these two? Sine times 1 gives me sine on top over cosine. And last, sine times sine is sine squared on top over cosine. Okay, so on this problem, does the middle in fact cancel out the way it has every other time? Let's check. Minus sine over cosine, yeah, it cancels out. So every FOIL method problem we've had, the middle is canceled. So if you get one, go ahead and FOIL it out because you know it's going to be pretty simple. Now, I'm going to bring these both down. You don't have to. Hey, I'll just do it this way. I'll just erase it. All right, so that's what we got left, right? We got to find a common denominator. How do I know that I have to do the common denominator step next? Because it's minus. If it's plus or minus, you got to do common denominator. So what is our common denominator? Well, look, they both already had cosine on the bottom, so we don't have to do anything but bring down 1 minus sine squared. The only time you have to do the extra work is when they don't both have cosine on the bottom. All right, what does the top turn into? Good. What's the final answer going to be? Cosine off the bottom. Mark out 1 cosine off the top. I'm left with cosine x. All right, that one wasn't that bad.
I think we're going to need another review sheet.
Okay, we'll review in the morning before we take the test. Deal? You ain't going to study at home anyway. All right, 10 is really, really easy. You guys do 10. 10's easy. I'll do it in just a second, but I don't think y'all. All right, so remember, the easiest way to do this one, I would not do the common denominator. You can. If I can distribute it or FOIL it, that's how I'm going to do it. So what do I get when I times sine times 1 on top? Look, that gives me sine on top and sine on bottom. What does that turn into? Yeah, that's just 1. All right, over here, sine times sine is sine squared. So I ended up with 1 minus sine squared after I distributed. Check what's that change into? Answer's cosine squared. So yeah, I like this one. I think we need to put that one on the test. Just one of them, but that's not bad. That's easy. I thought 9 was tough. I thought 7 was tough. 11's kind of tough, but 11, guys, this is going to be the 3rd time we've done 11. All right, so let's do 11. Hopefully you remember it. We've done this same problem. Go ahead. Go ahead and change everything out first, see what you can do with it. All right, so let's change everything out. So I got 1 over cosine on top. Here we go. Boom. Crash and burn. Yeah, I did. I'm start saving it every day too. I can figure out how to bring it up now. All right, so we got 1 over cosine on top. We got cosine over 1 on the bottom. Now, secant times cosine. I know that's going to be 1. How do I know that? Cosine times secant. Remember when they're opposites of each other, what I told you? It's going to be 1. What if you didn't know that? Well, if you didn't know that, you would do 1 over cosine times cosine over 1, and you would see that everything cancels out anyway, and it's 1. So to save you some time, just remember, if they're opposites of each other, it's going to be 1. All right, what's next? What's that, Jacob? Keep, change, flip. Good. We're going to keep, change, flip this fraction. I flip that over, and it looks like that. Good. So Matthew says that's 1 over cosine squared minus 1. A couple different ways you could do it from here. Is there any way I can change that 1 over cosine squared into something that's one word? 1 over cosine is secant, so I can change that into secant squared. So we've got secant squared minus 1, which hopefully that's a formula. And I think it's tan squared. Y'all can look at it and check. So hopefully you can remember that one. Again, this is the 3rd or 4th time we've done that same problem. All right, 11 wasn't bad. I thought 12 was, I think 12 is the one we did on the warm-up.
You said 6 was.
6 is one of them we did on the warm-up. Yeah, 12, I'm going to let y'all do 12 by yourself. All right, let's flip it over. Let's do the back. Now remember, we're stopping after 16. You don't have to do 17 and 18. We're going to turn this in. All right, so what is different or what is extra on 13 through 16? The equal sign. Okay, so we got to show that the left side of the equal sign is the same as the right side of the equal sign. Look, the right side of the equal sign on this one's already just 1. So we're not going to mess with that. We're only going to mess with the left side. All right, so you guys go through and change what you can change. Don't mess with the cosines. You want to leave it. All right, so we've got cosine squared. Tangent is sine squared over cosine squared times cosine squared. Okay, do I add first or do I times first? What happens when you times? I can cross those out. I am left with cosine squared plus sine squared equals 1. Anybody see the next step? Matthew, what you got? Matthew says this is a formula. Look on your formula sheet. Sine squared plus cosine squared is on your formula sheet, top left, equals 1. So we got 1 equals 1 and we can stop. So most of these are just going to be like 2 steps, 13 through 16. All right, does anybody have a question there? All right, let's go to 14. All right, change everything out. Don't mess with the right side of the equal sign. It's already just one word. We're going to leave it secant squared. We'll just mess with the left side of the equal sign. Tangent is sine over cosine. All right, so I don't know if it really helps us on this is the one problem where it probably doesn't help you to change everything out. We're going to do it anyway. When I multiply these two, I get sine squared over cosine squared, right? Sine squared over cosine squared. Well, look, doesn't that just change into tan squared anyway? So what I'm saying is, look, the very first Matthew on this one, you could have looked at tan times tan and got tan squared. So I don't know if it helped us on that problem to change everything out. But But when I times these two, I'm multiplying, remember, and when you multiply, you can cancel. That cancels that cancels that, so it's 10 squared plus 1.
So you really could just left all just the same thing as multiple.
Yeah, because you know tan times cotan is 1. Yeah, you're right. All right, Jacob, where do we go from here?
Well,
That's a formula. So secant squared equals secant squared. All right, 15. I'm going to give y'all a head start. Multiply these two first. What do you get? Sine times sine is sine squared. That was easy. Now come back this way. I got to multiply 1 plus cosine x with 1 minus cosine x. So let's just do that shortcut on the full method I've been showing y'all. How the middle's going to cancel. So let's just multiply the two fronts and the two last numbers. All right, Jacob, what's that going to be if I fold it out? Actually, the ones are in the front now, so it'll be 1 minus cosine squared. That does matter. If the ones are in the front, you got to put 1 in front. All right, now hopefully that's a formula. All right, so you got it done. Sine squared equals sine squared.